All right. Hello. What's going on? Race Brain Podcast. My name is Rich Ryan, joined by Bracken Crocker and Jack Bauer. Today, we're going to talk about ways that we feel the OCR industry can come back to prominence. So we're just going to kick around some ideas. No races this past weekend or this upcoming weekend, really. So we have a free episode to just, indulge ourselves in. First, Bracken has a story behind every shoe on the wall behind him that he's going to tell us for the first, we think, 40 minutes of the episode.
30 at least.
I mean, I could pare it down to 60.
We can make it 60. That's what the people want. But special visuals, we are live for our Patreon members, and we're on YouTube. YouTube's been actually growing. People been watching. They want to see what's going on back there. Give us a story of one of the shoes. What's that top Nike?
Nike
your right.
Waffle XC, rubber bottomed cross country racer. This was the shoe Hobie and I were rocking
right?
Early on. We probably wore this for a year or two straight.
Wow, really? It makes sense if you don't really know what OCR is going to be like coming in as a track and cross country person.
Runner. Yeah. They the courses were very soft, and so you could get away with it at most of them. And they drain crazy well. We were both he was coming off a road racing in like Adidas Adios or something, and I was coming off a track and cross country, so we were used to minimalist. They had the biggest lugs we'd ever heard of, and they were light, so that's what we went with until Innovate came on the scene, and then I switched over to that X-Talon real quick.
What year was that?
I switched over, at the halfway through 2012 for a long race. Just for Killington, I wore those because I needed more shoe. But all the way up to that, I was still in the Waffle.
Innovate was having a moment then because the F185s or whatever they're called.
The F-Lights 195s and
they
the
were like
X-Talon 190s.
Or what was the flat, like the gym shoe?
Yeah, the F-Light 195.
Yeah.
That was the same shoe, just no lugs.
Oh, interesting. That's what CrossFitters were wearing. So you go into a niche thing that was CrossFit just building up, and that was the shoe people were wearing. And then the outside version of it, OCR, same kind of thing. Innovate, that Apex Mountain for Innovate.
Also, fun fact, maybe not fun, nerdy fact, at the first Spartan Race World Championship, Cody Moat won the B-Stand Ultra in the F-Light, not the X-Talon. He had the non-lugged version, and then he won the trail marathon and 50K, I believe, were the two championships he won that year for USATF in that same F-Light 195. It's a very flexible, stripped down, almost no foam, just like rubber bottomed CrossFit shoe. That's what he wore.
That's crazy. That's when
and then he immediately developed Achilles issues.
Yeah. As people thought the minimal shoes were going to make you actually faster, and like it could make you stronger, but I don't know. But now the shoes, they're actually making you faster. The shoes.
We're running up the mountain as I'm trying to decide, do I stick on this guy or not? And I'm watching his shoes. Like, he doesn't have lugs on these. How? And you right up Killington. It goes to show.
On grass,
the runner makes the shoes.
Yeah, right. All right. So today we're going to chat about just some different ideas, kick some things around. We're going to go around one by one, kind of give us give some pitches as to what we think would be some fun ways to maybe improve or bring OCR back into the limelight. Wheel of names, boys?
Yeah. When am I ever going to say no?
Is that what we want? Is that what we want?
That is what
and I want to be clear. This isn't fun. This is saving OCR.
This is serious business.
This is a business proposal to return OCR to prominence. Whoa. Are you going to put the wheel behind you?
What are your ghosts?
Check that out.
Whoa.
Brought to you by Sonic.
All right, I can't really see what. Am I pointing at
Half price shakes after 7 p.m.
Am I pointing at it right now?
No. Oh, no.
Bracken number one.
Is my finger pointing to Bracken?
Not even close. You need to get 3 o'clock. Like, full arm extended. Nope. Wrong way.
3 o'clock for me.
Okay. 9 o'clock for you. Full arm extended.
This way?
Yeah. Now it got cut off.
Never mind.
You would have had it. You would have had it.
Yeah, perfect.
Rich, you're number 2.
That is
I pointed to it.
You were pointing to me, but that's fine. Lens crafters, you need some eyeglasses? Are they targeting you?
It's getting worse and worse, man. It's getting worse and worse.
You're not doing my eye tricks?
I haven't. That's something I just haven't been able to put into the repertoire. I've been doing power cleans instead.
I found that I squeeze those in whenever I'm in conversation with people.
You just start rolling your eyes.
That's when I do my eye strength.
Just go all the way to the side. Yeah.
Well, that was a fun exercise. Wheel of Names just up.
You have a future as a weather forecaster.
Vanna White.
I can do this.
Yeah, Vanna White.
All right, BK, fitting that you're going first here. How are you going to save OCR?
Well, I believe that as Spartan goes, OCR goes. I believe that if you look across the landscape of OCR from a timeline perspective, all other brands were at the peak of their prowess when Spartan was at theirs. I believe they are the key to the industry going. Love them or hate them, I don't think it's a disputable fact that the best competition, the highest sponsor engagement, the highest viewership engagement we've ever had is when Spartan's at its best. And as a result, hundreds of pro athletes across the world have reason to branch out and train for Spartan by doing all the other OCR events. I think a lot of the events were at their best when they weren't designed to be the big dog. They were there to provide an option, an alternative to the big dog. So I believe that the key to saving OCR is to make Spartan great again.
Mm.
And I believe that happens. You have to get them back on TV. That is the first step. I don't care about any of the other steps. The very first step is you must find some, oh boy.
Rich dying.
It's great.
I think you have to get a deal right as soon as possible so that people can see it. For the longest time, Spartan had the greatest self-sustaining economy, this ecosystem where their pros got eyes on the sport and the eyes came out and tried the open waves. And Randy Moss, was him doing a race good for Spartan or OCR? Did hardcore people even care or like what he did? Probably not. But people who knew Randy Moss saw it. And that only happened because Spartan already had a pre-existing deal with a network that also showed the NFL. Like those kind of things only occurred because it was on TV. And because those things occurred, new people kept coming in. They kept the dollars coming from the open waivers. And so I believe it starts at the very top. I don't think the pros matter to the company, but pros matter for a TV deal, which matters for getting people off the couch, as Joe would say, into OCR. That's where I would start. Sign a deal, whatever it took, get this back in front of the eyes of the nation.
So, and just to kind of clarify a little bit more, the event of OCR is actually doing fairly well. We're going to be speaking mostly about the sport,
competitive
the
side,
sports side of things.
Yeah, right, numbers are good for regular age group, open weight. Like it's surprisingly good. It's just you don't see the names that you're used to at the top anymore.
All right, so let's kick some things around. I have some follow-up.
Okay,
lead it off.
So television is not the same as it was, right? Like network TV and the way that people subscribe and consume television, it's much more based around the streamers. And we're seeing live sports come to streamers a little bit more now, so that it is possible to do what you're saying more or less. But would you have it be more like a drive to survive situation in order to get it in front of people, like in how they've done what tennis has done this now, golf has done this, I believe. Tour de France has done this, F1. So these are all sports that are a bit on the periphery, but bigger than what we are here. Do you see it being that way, or more like, hey, here's an event? Like
both. I think you have to have the races because watching the season is great, but it then drives you to the races. Like that's what Drive to Survive did, is it got people excited about, let's tune in and watch. And they have their F1 app that you can pay a pittance per month to watch, and they have all the other things to watch. But you need to have races that people can watch live and streaming tape delayed. Not, we didn't have it ready for live, but you can watch it live. You can also catch it afterwards. But yeah, I do believe there is a need for a reality adjacent show to drive it. And like you said, streaming has changed the game. It can now be done without having to get one of the major 3 or 4 networks to buy you. You can now have a plethora of streaming options at your disposal to choose from.
Jack, what are your thoughts?
I like the Netflix model for an easier description right there, like the Drive to Survive. That that style. I watched the Tour de France one. Those are long races, 6+ hours for some of the stages. OCR has 2 to 3 hour events, and they still made it exciting. And that's the hardest thing that we've found throughout time. Like, how do you make a 2+ hour mountain race exciting? In the early stages when Spartan was on NBC, what was it, Bracken? A 1 hour show for Tahoe, for Killington. And so I don't think that you need, if you're trying to capture eyes, to have the full duration of the race. You just need the action parts, because that seemed to be the successful formula through the years.
I can't think of a individual sport that is highly entertaining other than maybe gymnastics. And even that is such a niche product. People only tune in every 4 years.
Yeah.
Like the racing, I'm all in on the motorsports life, right? The races aren't that exciting by nature. It's very repetitive. Like they don't build awesome courses.
Right.
The conversation isn't how do we make this exciting to watch? The conversation is how do we make people care about the people who are on course? Tour de France is not exciting. Ironman is not exciting. Olympic triathlon is rarely exciting. You get occasional finishes. You care about your dog in the fight. You know, we need to build up dogs in the fight. That's how you make people care, which is where the Netflix show comes in, or a reality show, Ultimate Fighter style house, whatever it's going to be. There needs to be a way that people care about the people racing, at which point no one cares what they're even doing. They'll watch them do anything. Golf, not exciting, but people are diehard about who they're rooting for.
Yeah, and we have personalities in the sport that you can root for or against. People, they pin themselves in one of those corners without even trying to. Like, that's just what their personality is like. So I think that'd be a very easy thing to accomplish realistically.
My biggest issue with this whole thing is if it was a Spartan produced show, I would not. We've been here. Like, I understand how they kind of want to put them, like, make themselves look in the public eye. And it's just not the way that they actually operate.
You want a third party?
I want a third party.
Production. Yeah.
And that kind of parlays into what I would like to see. So it's my turn now, Bracken.
Okay, taking over.
You can just kind of.
Thanks for your time. You're out.
We're going to mute you. I think there needs to be some sort of another organization or association that is based around the athletes and not necessarily one specific race. So it could be something that will be similar to the PGA or the ATP. And so there's specific spots. And we've probably talked about this before, but there's not just one big race that is Spartan or that is Savage or that is, and everything, everybody's trying to build their own big thing. It's actually a tour that makes different stops to these different races. And it's the unified body is separate than going after Spartan, than wanting to lean on Spartan. Because doing that in the past is what got everybody in this mess, right? Like the Spartan, what was the Spartan strike? Was that what it's called? BK, you were part of that.
Spartan protest.
Spartan protest led by BK.
Yeah.
BK was in there.
I wasn't at the front. I was in row 2.
He had the flags out, standing out front of HQ. But that's just the issue. Like if we put all of our eggs in one basket, we will get burnt again. So if there was an organization that was for like a governing body for the athletes, where they could organize different stops along the way, and then those different races can have individual sponsors as opposed to being like Spartan Races sponsor is Rakuten.
Rakuten.
Well, that was a while ago. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever said that out loud. Then
you nailed it.
Thank you.
I mean, it's like Tomash. You nailed that pronunciation there.
I get it the second or third time.
Yeah.
Then the sponsors can come in for like one race as opposed to signing on with this one organization, and there could be funding for each of the races. And yeah, maybe there is the biggest one, like a World Championships or something, or one that is most prestigious. But that, I think, having it, and then it would allow the stories to be told outside of the biased perspective of Spartan, because no matter what, if Spartan does a show, it's going to be, look how great Spartan is first, and then the athletes in sport after. But if we can put the athletes in sport above that, through some sort of third party, through some sort of association, I think will be better for the health.
I mean, isn't OCR kind of about finding the most well-rounded athlete? That's kind of what we've taken pride in. We're not just straight one-dimensional runners or one-dimensional lifters.
Well-rounded endurance athlete. I want to be
Endurance
clear.
athlete. Okay, you're right. I will agree with
on
that.
earth.
Yep. So we like the variety. That's kind of what's been appealing to a lot of people to try OCR, and going across brands, like doing a Spartan race once and then Savage race, OCR Worlds, maybe go over to Sweden and do a toughest race or something. Just have some variety like that. I think that would be a fantastic thing instead of your standard. We're going to have 4 or 5 races in the calendar, and they're all going to be very similar format because they're within the same brand. You'll find that well-roundedness and the storylines where it's like this person clearly just doesn't have obstacle proficiency and they DNF'd at a race. Like, I think that would be a very exciting type of format for storylines on the competitive side of so not necessarily like a bands versus burpees type of battle, but just having that variety of distances. That I like that.
So we're starting to split into 2 camps here. The first camp is me, which is how I think we could actually fix it. The second camp is you, which is what would be best for the sport.
It's La La Land. I'm way
And I don't
out
know if
there.
it is La La Land, but I see it as like best case scenario. Could it be pulled off with the right investor or whatever? Maybe. Maybe. What we've never had is Spartan ever truly play nice with anyone bigger than them, because there was never anyone bigger other than a sponsor. Reebok, Rakuten, that kind of thing. They were bigger than Spartan, but they didn't care. They didn't have any goals for what happened in OCR. So I'm for it. This is what I want, right? This is the pitch we pitched back in the day in 17 to try to make
Spartan,
a racing league. Yeah, to Spartan, and try to incorporate other things where Spartan didn't sponsor the teams. It was Home Depot and it was Rakuten and it was Kraft, and they were the teams. That's what I'm on board for. Other outsiders controlling the destiny of the sport, not the brand itself. But can it ever happen? Only a massive TV deal could make it happen. So to me, I see that as like stage 2, where you get some sort of streaming going or TV. And if it gets traction, now they have power to say, all right, and now we're taking it global.
And it could operate how the Diamond League does, right? Like where there are a bunch of different, like get it on Peacock. I got the subscription. I'll let you have it. We can watch.
I would get rid of it now.
I'd even sign up for Flow Track if it was on it.
I'm not. It's moving to Flow Track, Jack. Diamond League is.
Oh no, I meant a Spartan
I heard.
or OCR league.
Yeah, why wouldn't Flow Track cover get Flow Track?
They'll cover it.
They could do
They'll
that.
cover it.
I mean, as good as
And
it's
they'll
being covered
suck at
now. I mean, but that would be something that they could like,
But yes,
right?
Flow
Like,
CR.
Flow CR.
I said that 10 seconds ago and no one reacted.
I'm giving you credit, Jack. Nice job.
Yeah.
I think
Bracken with like the mouth drop. Like, did you guys hear what I just
Did you
said?
hear what I
Same
came up
here.
Yeah. But I mean, that's essential. Is Flow Track different than OCR Report from that perspective?
No,
Right?
but
Like,
yeah, fundamentally different. Product that they put out, no, they're very similar.
OCR Report cares about the racing. I feel like Flow Track just wants to own everything, and OCR Report actually cares.
Flow Track is part of Flow. I don't even know what the term is. It's the umbrella.
Flow
There's
conglomerate.
Flow Sports.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, you're right. One cares and is limited financially. The other one doesn't care and has the means to do better if they wanted to.
Do they though? Like, how well are they doing? Flow Track. Flow
Did you see that video that I sent you guys in the group chat a couple weeks ago?
I didn't watch it.
I don't know if Bracken.
apologize.
It was geared towards Bracken because he watches a lot of.
I know, that's why I didn't
obscure
watch it.
coverage. Yeah. It's just like running public. You're just not going to give it a chance.
I'm not interested.
But
Rich is dialed into Worlds. As we get closer, we get less Rich.
Nothing.
Yep.
I'm not. I'm nowhere to be seen.
he might be
wrote down
bored
too many
over in Europe though, just sitting in his room.
I'm
So I
gonna
might want to
have
watch
thoughts.
something.
I'm gonna have thoughts on the later Race
Yeah.
Brain episodes. But up until then, I got nothing. Brain is empty.
Yeah. Well, this ties pretty closely with my idea. And Bracken, I was like, someone's going to steal it. Someone's going to mention it. And you kind of went over it with the Home Depot comment. But I think have a league. We kind of all agreed earlier that having teams, having rooting interests, that's the way to go. And I think that if you want athletes to make sure they're getting the money, like, because that's kind of been an issue. It's like we have all this money from a sponsor that we're going to give to the pro team, but how much does the pro team actually see of it? Not really any of it in the past, or a very minor amount. I think if you have a team craft, a team VJ, just your various things, you could. I mean, how many teams do we see at NCAA cross country? We probably 30 or so. Like, you could have a lot of teams. I don't think that we have the depth in the sport to maybe justify that. But if you have 5 to 7 teams of 3 to 5 people, like, you have maybe up to 30 to 50 people on the course at a time. I think that would be some exciting action. And you have like an athlete draft, which everybody gets pumped about the NFL draft every year, the NBA draft. You have some excitement on how these teams are formed, and then a hard reset every year. Yeah, I think that would switch things up as well. Or you could keep it in the long term. But I think that having those sponsor-backed teams, that's the way to go for a pro team style, because everyone kind of had the idea that a pro team was cool, but I think that it was implemented incorrectly.
Got my headband still. Got my shirt.
Yeah, I do too. I've got mine 3 feet to the left of me. Yeah. Yeah, I think if we're looking at the no thumbs up yet. But I think if we're looking at the competitive side of the sport, teams do make a difference, and I think that that's the way to go.
So it's like, nice, BK.
Thumbs
BK
up.
likes it. So let's like dive into this a little bit more and kind of like pick this apart some, because yes, right, and the association thing also like is kind of, when I'm talking about the association, that's not necessarily sponsor backed. And I think the issue that we've had with sponsors in OCR, and BK can probably speak to this a little bit more because you had sponsors in OCR, is just the return doesn't seem like anybody gets the return that they're hoping for. And the way that the sport was growing, it seems like early investment, see what we can get, and then we kind of cycle through different ones. And we're at the point now where it's like, the sport's not getting coverage, it's a little bit hard to watch. How do we get return? So like, yes, having a team with a sponsor backed, that'd be great.
There are a lot of 1-year deals with brands.
But
that's the old model that didn't work.
That's a little volatile. Yeah.
And this is the issue. Well, first of all, I do want to say that the reason why these pro teams are important, because there's going to be, we're leading off with the pro side of the sport. How do we fix OCR? Well, we need the pros to be loved and important again. And people are going to say, well, you guys are just speaking through your own bias. But the reason this is important is because the pro teams, why pro teams matter, is that it's twofold. The first is that it allows you can sell sponsorship, and we can get into the sponsorship side, but importantly, it gives athletes a reason to strive for the next level. The pro team was the reason to not run open anymore. It was to try to win your age group and try to get into the pro ranks because you saw there could be more. The local monster at your local regional OCR scene who is running for the pro team, you saw that there was a path there and that they're giving out these contracts every year. And I could be one of those people. And we've never seen in OCR a wider participation in the elite ranks than when there was pro team spots that could be, there were these coveted spots that could be attained by athletes. And so there needs to be something for the advanced weekend warrior to strive for. And then that creates the vacuum up and to fill their spot when they move up. I do believe it's an important rite of passage and a way of progressing through sport to have a next level to strive for, other than just, I won my age group. So I do believe that the pro team is a necessary component to the health of OCR.
Just think of any high school sport. It's like there's a set number of players on the baseball team, a set number of spots for the football teams. Like you have more people who want to fill those positions than are available. So I totally agree with that.
And it creates athletes.
Competition when they add a new gets better
team,
athletes.
Yeah, when they add a new team to a pro sport, it doesn't water down the league. Mm-hmm. Maybe initially, but within a few years, it's full. The athletes rise to fill the spots. And so it only helps the sport. But from the sponsorship side, they were playing checkers and big leagues are playing chess. Return on investment is a terrible way to try to convince small sponsors to stay in your sport because they can't. Mm-hmm. They are pushed to the edge of their financial limits to be sponsoring you in the first place. And they can almost never recoup what they're putting into this. But the big sponsors, people who are, let's take a look at, let's say, like Ineos or Honda or Lyft or Wish, people that are sponsoring pro sports, they are at the level of business where return on
$100,000 is
investment
nothing.
means keeping your name at the forefront of the public consciousness. You don't have to show $1 in for $1 out.
Mhm.
You have to show I'm on people's mind, and so they keep coming back to us because they know we're there. And that's the type of sponsor Spartan used to get. And now they're playing with smaller sponsors, and then there's that cycle in, cycle out. The sport has to get away from cycle in, cycle out. As much as we want to support mom and pop ventures, they can't be what floats your league. It has to be companies who are so big that their sponsorship is revolved around just keeping their name present everywhere they can get it.
So I'm thinking about the way that professional sports operate, right? Like the NBA is a revenue share model
Mhm.
where the owners buy into the league, and then everything that is made through broadcasting rights and sponsorships and everything like that that goes into one pool, and then it's redistributed to all of the teams, right? But they're making money through a variety of ways. So they have a lot of money to redistribute. Like, how can OCR make money? Because that's what this whole conversation kind of boils down to. It's like, yes, if we want an association, if we want a league, if we want higher payouts, like, how can it make money?
Jack, you go ahead. I just talked a lot, and I have a lot to say on this, so break me up.
You're talking like I guess, stadium specific, like everything that if the Red Sox sell at a game, but the Royals don't, like the Red Sox don't have to share that stuff. You're saying league-wide agreed upon TV deals, overall sponsors and stuff. That's where you're breaking it, or you're doing this even revenue sharing. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, because it would be like okay, Spartan Race is not going to share all of their profits with Savage Race because they're like different things. But if it was the sport that, and like, hey, this is the what? Give us an acronym: OCR League, OCRL, right? And then there was this much sponsorship for that, like that would get distributed to whatever teams
Gotcha.
that we're talking about, or whatever that looks like.
I
But
mean, it would have been, or it's a lot easier now that Spartan owns OCR Worlds and Tough Mudder, and a lot of the brands just no longer exist at this point. I really don't have a good answer on how you would do that revenue sharing, because it's a competition. You're not really seeing the Celtics competing against the Nuggets to try to remain relevant in the league. You've got so many more zeros associated with that type of stuff that it's not even in the same ballpark with how that revenue share. I honestly don't have a good answer. Bracken, you can take this one.
Well, I think we're ahead of ourselves. I don't think revenue sharing is even the conversation yet because there's no revenue.
Yeah,
that's my question that I'm asking is like, where's the revenue?
But I think it's because not everyone, the vast majority of what Spartan does is focused on the wrong way to make money, which I know sounds really, really arrogant and know-it-all coming from someone who's not a businessman.
Why don't you do it?
Not my job. I'm a wordsmith. I am not a businessman. The way that sports make money is through gate, through sponsorships and deals, and through viewership. Spartan is entirely focused on gate. That means what comes in through selling tickets. Gate is the smallest percentage of those three in any sport. The gate almost doesn't matter.
You see like some of those deals that college football was making with ESPN, and it's like tens of billions of dollars. They're not selling tens of billions of dollars worth of t-shirts when people walk into games.
Right. Now the gate can only make what it can make.
And it would be
only raise your prices.
It would be like, for this instance, it would be like if the gate for spectators, which is probably almost nothing.
And in race entry, great. 3,000.
Well, they force you to walk. They force you to walk
each.
through the gift shop as you enter the venue every single time. You go through registration, then you can buy stuff. The merch tent. That's
and merch isn't even counted as part of that. Gate is just walking through the gate.
Okay. So
paying a ticket.
Virtually
so all
zero.
Sports, yeah, all sports charge that. But I'm talking participant tickets as well for our sport. That's part of gate. But when you look at numbers of any other sport, the gate is fractional. It's almost inconsequential. Where the money comes from is the sponsors that you sell because people are going to be through the gate, and the sponsors you sell for people who are going to be watching, and then the money you make from how people watch it. Those are the two biggest pieces, and those are the two biggest pieces Spartan and OCR have pushed to the side because those are advanced problems. We just need to get people to our events, but getting people to the events doesn't scale super well. At some point, you can't fit anyone else through your gate.
Right.
You can't get any more people out on course. Even if you do, they're all paying the same amount. It doesn't scale. But sponsorship based on people going there scales incredibly well, and based on viewerships that. So until we get sponsorship and a way for people to pay to watch it, or for a company to pay you to put on a watchable product, until we get those two things, there is no revenue to share. But as long as OCR relies upon what were our attendance numbers, we're screwed. How did the Marlins make money for years? No one showed up to gate.
Look at the athletics now.
Didn't matter. It doesn't matter because the MLB doesn't even care what their gate was.
They don't
'Cause they're
split
making
revenue though, do
so
they?
much money. Yeah. They made
do.
so much money even naming Conesco Park, or AmFam Field. They make more naming the field than everyone who walks through the door that entire season. So we need to get away from focusing on gate for OCR and instead focusing on how do we sell what those people provide to companies. And that's a bigger overarching issue. But until we're doing that, which is a streaming or live broadcast and sponsors sponsoring that, there is no revenue to share, and we haven't saved OCR.
Right. So I think that that's one of the next questions that we need to come across that is a bit of a catch-22 when I think about it, right? It's like, do we need to fundamentally change what this sport looks like and how it can be seen in order for it to make money from people watching? Because that seems to be an issue. It's hard to watch this sport, whether it is a 2.5 hour race in the mountains where there's no coverage and not enough technology to help with that, or if it's a 3K in the desert. In general, it just has not been easy to watch and follow what's actually going on.
It's similar for Golden Trail Series also. I don't know if you watched Transvolcania for, like, John Albin just won that, and there was some downtime at a lot of that race. So it's just a hard thing to do, get good reception in the woods. Like, you go out camping, you're probably not going to have good use of your cell phone, especially not 1080p streaming live. Yeah. Like, it's hard to do.
And that's where having a production company matters. You need people with their own satellite, with their satellite dish on their truck. You need people with mobile command stations. You need money into this. And these all happen in conjunction with each other, right? You can't pay for that until you have a sponsor on board. I understand we're not solving how you get those things, but there is a compromise to be had there. Spartan has had dozens of venues over the years, which were covered with cell phones. And you start by making only the ones that we can film properly are part of the season. Easy. We stick with that.
Season or series?
I don't care. Whatever. Just are part of our televised product.
Okay.
We never had an issue at Palmerton.
OCRL.
Palmerton gets it. Never had much of an issue at Tahoe, other than when the bear chewed through the line. All right, we're using Tahoe. Yeah. And if we can't get up high, we don't use up high. To the average viewer, a mountain is a mountain. We don't need to get to this spot if this spot is equally cool to the layman, but we can film this. And so early on, season 1, the budget limits you to where you can film because you have to be able to see every second of the race. And that is a major failing of OCR in the past because it grew up on their roots are the gnarliest terrain you can find. And we have had a hard time getting away from that. Even when we don't use gnarly, we still have to get away from the venue.
Right.
And that doesn't have to be a thing.
Right.
How about using drones? Like, that would solve a lot of this.
Yeah. Which requires budget. They have a small runtime battery wise, and they have to return to base each time. And so you need to have multiple bases. But again, that's not an issue to a production company. That's an issue to hobbyists or people who are doing it on their side for the good of the sport.
Right.
I think that post edited is the way to go if you know, it might take a few years to really spruce up the quality of it. But I think if you have a very digestible 30-minute product, people we're always like, oh, we want to see it live because it's live only happens once, and we're so excited to see the results as they're happening. But most people that are casual fans, like an 8 a.m. Or 7:30 a.m. on a Saturday start time, that's not going to get the masses to tune in realistically. Like, get you think that a lot of people are going to wake up at that? Like, I don't do that for other sports.
I'm probably in
NFL Europe.
the top like 5% of track and field fans, and I don't watch the track and field live almost ever.
No.
True. But
I
track and
watch
field doesn't
all
have
the
what we're talking about.
pre-classic. But it's still an obscure endurance-based sport.
Yeah, it's still the conversation
niche.
live versus post.
People get up for F1. People get up for triathlon. People get up for sports they care about. People get up for NFL Europe.
Maybe track and field's too long.
Yeah.
Track and field is not
what you want to
filled
model
with superstars other than sprinters.
Yeah.
It's just really not. There is no
Jakob?
storyline to follow.
Sha'Carri Richardson, Jakob, those are like
They hate
probably
each
their
other.
two faces.
Bowerman
Yeah.
Mile was amazing.
I mean, that's great that's happening, and that just had really good viewership. We also don't have to be a morning sport.
I agree.
There's no reason we have to be positioned ourselves.
I am on board. Let's go.
Dude,
if we're
go
really
live.
to everything, why do we have to stream it at 6 a.m., 7 a.m.? No, I don't think we do. I think pre and post is needed. I think people must have a good product to watch after the fact to catch up, and it can be a compressed 30-minute product, but there must be live coverage. Otherwise, is it a sport if there's not a live coverage?
I mean, I feel like if there was interest built through something like a Drive to Survive OCR show, I think then
that's not live.
That's what I'm saying. If there was first that, or a Ultimate Fighter, and then it built this excitement and built the fan base to have live. Because I agree with you, Bracken. Like, and Jack, something you mentioned was like having something digestible. And Spartan tried that once. Like, oh, YouTube videos are better under 30 minutes. Like, well, only if the content's not good. Like, if it's a good content, people will watch the full hour.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't know if it's there. I don't know if it necessarily needs to be live right now, because I don't think we have the viewership that would demand.
How many times have you gone back to rewatch a hybrid or an OCR race
that I was not in?
Yeah.
Zero.
All right.
But because I'm too busy watching the ones I'm in.
I know Bracken, he's on, all the time. You watch it. It's on the other screen right now.
Yeah.
Bracken, countless times you've talked about you're on the treadmill. You have Montana.
I just rotate through seasons.
Yep.
Continually.
Now,
I finish it and then I move to hybrid. I finish it, I go back to OCR.
Do you have an issue with any of those being 30 to 60-minute productions?
No, the issue becomes when you can't follow the race and when there's nonsensical gaps.
Yes.
Post-production is great, but it requires a higher level of coherence.
Yeah.
As you're jumping around spot to spot, you need to have graphics and commentators throughout. They don't have to commentate on what you're watching on screen. They have to narrate the action that's occurred when you didn't get to watch.
Yeah.
That does not exist in our sport right now, and it exists in all other post-production sports. The coherence of what's happening really matters, and we haven't figured it out yet. We also haven't figured out how to show men's and women's simultaneously in a way that is coherent and makes sense. But again, if we're talking about having a deal with a streamer, this is what professionals work out. We're getting bogged down in details, and the details are going to get sorted out by people who have been paid a healthy sum to do this kind of thing.
We can do it. Why don't we get that healthy sum?
Now, here's an alternate. Here's an alternate. We saw a race earlier this year with the highest amount of money ever given out in OCR history for prize money.
We didn't see nothing.
And I was going to say, and they spent basically no money just to put a static camera at the finish line that whole time. Do you think that athletes would still show up if there was a decent amount of, I bet if they threw 50% of that prize money towards production and still offered half the prize money for each spot, you would have had a very similar showing realistically. If $40,000 is first place versus 80,000, you're still having a bunch of people show up.
Yes.
I think throw that money towards the budget, not the prize money. Get it so that people can watch. You can put on a hell of a broadcast for $200,000, I imagine, for a looped OCR course.
Yes.
It's a head scratcher, man. That I think that even more now in the context of this conversation, you're like, oh yeah, they paid $80,000 for the first prize and nobody got to see it and got
Yeah.
like it raised no awareness. There's no marketing. There's no eyeballs. Why did they do that? What the heck?
You forget $40,000. You could put it on for 10 grand. Let's just say that race. All right. Let's say we do that race again, but we operate under the rules that we just talked about, which is you have to have cell phone coverage the whole time. And we're not even going to have transition productions handle it. We're just going to do it the way we were going to do it, but we guarantee there's coverage the whole time. With the three of us right here, we could relay nonstop that entire course.
Yeah.
I run for a mile, hand it off to Rich. Jack's waiting a mile from there, and we just keep pogoing around the course for 6 hours, for 8 hours. And then you have one cart that just puts us ahead as we need to be, a mile at a time. You would have nonstop coverage. Now you have 3 more for the women's side. You have nonstop coverage happening. And now your static cams catch the rest. A couple people on site doing the Donahue or I think Kirk did it one year, the Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Was that her name?
Magida.
Christmas Abbott. Yeah.
Christmas
Oh,
Abbott.
Yeah.
Doing that thing static. You have the whole race covered and there never has to be downtime. Even if no one's talking, you can just pan away for a little bit and watch Jack run for the next mile with the top athlete or someone following the pack behind. You could do it without a budget.
Lots of sunscreen.
I've been over there twice.
A lot of clothes.
I've survived.
Whole lot of
clothes.
Whole lot.
Big sun hats.
Bedouin outfit.
We could have like a sunscreen mist station. So I run through it. That's my leg. When I'm on the rabbit, I just run
the phone
through it.
off. And just go through it.
Exactly.
Anyway, it can be done. Okay, we're getting bogged down in detail. It's not difficult to do that part.
But
is
it just reallocating some of that money that they already had would have made such a difference? That's what it comes down to.
I'm almost leaning toward like I'd never loved the NBC idea in retrospect, just because it seemed like they put the cart in front of the horse in terms of the sport. Be like, we're a legitimate sport. Look how legitimate this coverage is. And like it wasn't really a legitimate sport at the time. But now I'm almost back on that. And if it was something like let's see Albin, let's see Atkins, let's see Lindsay and Nicole and let's do a little bit of preamble with them, have the story built up to it, and then cut some of the story like they did NBC wise, instead of having
you could have it overlaying
instead of having
running
the
in the back
cam running along, and just like having it be like drone coverage of cuts of it and like telling the story that way. I think that might actually be.
We hate it, but it might actually work.
That might actually, because it worked. And BK used to speak very highly of that. Those times of OCR as it being something that really brought it up, and like, do we just go back to that?
The athletes don't have to love it. That's the thing that we keep forgetting, and I keep forgetting. Like, we don't have to love it. It has to pique the interest of someone who didn't love it prior. Like, I assume the PGA guys don't love every aspect of how they do the show because they pick their storylines and like, where was I?
There's like favorites, for sure.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing. Drive to Survive.
It's not real. It's not like in a real. When you watch the NBA playoffs, you can watch the whole game.
That's real.
That's real. You get to determine what the story was. But when it's put together in post, it's not the full story. It's not like as real.
It is as real as they see it. And that's what matters. If we say we are a legit sport and these are the best athletes in the world and here are cool storylines to watch and here's how you're going to watch it, that's real. The people in it doesn't matter if it was real to them. We're not catering. Those 15 or 20 people who are going to be mad at the production are going to have their lives paid for by the production. So like, wipe your tears with dollars. It's okay. It's not for you. The money that comes from it's for you. So I don't care if it's not real. I think you do put the cart before the horse. I think you do put out a product that presents it in something that it may not even quite be yet.
But haven't we
rather
been there?
than present it how we're doing it now?
Well,
and hope that
were
it
those the
grows
better
into
days,
something
Rich?
legit.
That's true. Right. Maybe it needs to go back to that because now it's not. Now is not prosperous.
It's not where it's at. So, Rich, question for you. You specifically are about to go 10 days early to a world championship event over in Europe. And yeah, you can make a decent amount of money, but the least you're going to make is $1,500. That's not enough to like, for most people to be like that's worth
Rich is
it.
taking a bath on this.
But
Yeah,
that's not what I'm getting at. But what I'm saying is the reason you're doing it is because the event matters. Like you want to face the best competition. How do you get the best athletes to want to do something? You make a meaningful event. It doesn't have to be all prize money based.
True.
Like you want to do it because you're like, I think I'm better at this task than anybody else in the world. And that's why I'm competing in this. And we've lost that. Like, how do we get OCR to matter again? I don't think you need to throw all that money back. You have a point?
Just to piggyback off your point, I think that's a really good observation on that, and that it's kind of harder to get there. Like that's another reason why it's like if I've spent all this time and effort to get to this race, to get into it, then I'm going to go there and do everything I can to do well. There's only 15 people. Does OCR need to become a little bit more exclusive?
Yeah, and we saw it last year with like Tom Hogan going all over the world, James Kelly traveling all over the world. We just saw how many Europeans came over. Both of them took the top spot for the men.
Double digits, I think.
Yeah. Jeffrey Voisin's traveled a ton. The women's field, you have athletes going all over. Not as many specifically for Anaheim, but like people travel because they realize how exclusive the club is to get to the top. And once it's kind of like the roster spot thing that we were talking about earlier. Once you take away those spots, suddenly it's like, oh, I think I'm good enough, but it's really hard to get here. So I'm gonna really put in a lot of effort and training for this. And then it brings out the best in everybody. You don't need that money to draw it. People just want to be good at it. What a CrossFit game athlete. If you're the 40th place athlete at the CrossFit games, you're losing money getting there. And you've put in a ton of effort. But to say that you are a CrossFit Games athlete, it matters. And I think it's all about the prestige at the higher end of the sport, why people want to do it. And I don't
think numbers matter. I don't think whether there's 5 people out in 15 or 150 or the Spartan 300 they used to use. I don't think it matters. I think what matters is who's there. Rich is doing this at the end of the day because if he doesn't, he's missing out because everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
If he's not there, he has missed an opportunity. That's why people are traveling the world, because they're going to miss out on it. Everyone's there. If I'm not there, I'm not talked about. Right now, we were scrambling to try to find enough people to draft in the last U.S. National Series race. Who's not there? Almost everyone. Who is there? Single-digit people. That's the difference between the two. The field size was almost the same. It's who's it comprised of, because it doesn't matter to be there anymore, because what's waiting for people if they do well. The social media does not drive their stardom right now. The brand's not trying to drive their stardom. And as a result, who's talking about the Spartan race? Results. I don't know. If you look on High Rocks, every single post about High Rocks right now is people fighting in the comments. People are fired up about everything. Terrible burpee broad jump form. This person sucks. This person's going to win. This person's overrated. You go to Spartans, it's like, where's Atkins this year? Did Lindsay have her baby yet? Cool. I know that person. Like, it's crickets. There's nothing happening there because no one's fighting to even be there.
You've got your Randy,
bring that back.
You've got your Randy Moss equivalent. Lance Armstrong just said he's going to sign up for New York. I don't think he's going to be a factor, but the fact is,
BK, you sell him your ticket?
Your code?
Nah, I already gave my ticket away.
Damn.
Not for Lance. They better tell him, hey, pre-registration.
Close.
Yeah.
Then
I saw Lance working out. I got to tell you what, boy's back in the sauce.
Is he yoked?
He's got a body that does not befit his
50
age
to 54.
or lifestyle.
He should just now be like, lean into it. Like,
hey, what's he gonna do? Ruin his
right.
Ruin his reputation?
Instead, he's just gonna like feel good.
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna
I
feel
would
good
if I were him.
Push a sled. We're fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, the prestige of being there has to be brought back. If someone wins an OCR race on a mountain and there was no one there to see it, was it worth going there in the first place? At the pro level, that answer is no. At the age group level, that's maybe. And at the open level, absolutely. The open people go there to embrace the challenge. The pros do not, but they need to bring it back so that all the best are there. And just as importantly, the age group and pro and open are all there on the same day. This is very important. They're all at the same venue. Even if it's Friday night, Saturday night, or morning, I don't care. But the same weekend, everyone needs to be in the same spot. That was part of the magic sauce. Watch them on TV, come out and run the same course as them. I think that's
But
unique to our sport. And I think we embrace that.
Change the time of day. Like, how many times have we seen a venue fill up 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock? It's like it is actually looking busy, but it was a ghost town at the beginning. That's what happens with DECA. It's like it actually is a pretty buzzing environment later in the afternoon or late morning, but no one gets there at 7:30 to watch the first wave. No one goes to the venues. We saw that with the 3K. It's like it's on a Friday, so no one's going to take a day off of work to go and watch that the day before. No one gets to the venue when your race is at 1 o'clock. You're not going to get there 6 hours early and stand in the sun and get all tired and stuff just to see some people. But if you already ran and then you've got this whole course open, sure, there might be some stragglers at the end of the day who are a little bit slower, but they're really not going to impede the athletes realistically. If you have everybody at the venue and say 10% of them stick around because they're OCR fans, they want to see it, or they just happen to be there, it at least creates a little bit of an illusion of a buzz.
And we'll see what with High Rocks, because I feel like the past 2 years it's been on the Friday before age group on Saturday, and it seems like the environment is pretty strong for spectators, and not necessarily forcing people to be there. They're just they're there for the weekend. So like, hey, we're here for this whole thing. We know who these people are. They're doing the same thing we're doing. Like, let's go take a look.
Is that because High Rocks is in a big city, so you do have, as opposed to like, oh, I'm an hour away in the countryside?
Potentially.
Like,
that's a big part.
Potentially.
The other part is they
there.
haven't split age group and pro to different championships. It's not world championship in one place, and a week later it's in a different spot. Spartan screwed up when they split that.
They brought that back though now, right?
Yeah.
Brought it back, which is good. But they got used to not being with each other, and now they're not with each other because where did all the pros go?
Yeah. I mean, how many examples do we have of multi-day OCR high level racing? Like we see with OCR World's 3K and 15K and team, you do have a lot of people who, like, in the past have run the 3K and the team, but I'm still watching the 15K because I'm there, because I want to see it, because I'm physically there. But that's like the one time a year that I can see people showing up on a day that they're not there. And it's only because it's sandwiched in between the dates, or you might get there early for running the 15K, but you want to watch the 3K because it's there, but that's at like noon. So the venue's already buzzing and stuff. I think change the time date. And I'm not just saying this because I don't like mornings. Like I think that actually having people there will create a little bit more excitement and make people want to show up.
So let's talk about the product a little bit. We tried to mention it a bit before, but should it be what it is, or does it need to change? Does it need to go to trifecta only? Does it need to go to ultra only? Does it niche down even further, or does it spread even further? 30-meter dash.
What about the 45?
The 45 could
How
really
about a
bring out
yard
some
dash?
athletes.
Let's switch up this measuring system.
It's just like it's like just puzzles. Just,
No,
so you
just
do a
get
Rubik's cube, and then you got to go
freedom
like up
units
and
instead of
down.
metric system. Yeah.
You just like
I'm gonna start
everything's
basic.
a vertical.
I'm gonna start low level before we get into the what are the race types and all that, because I think that's a worthwhile conversation. I'm gonna start with obstacles need to be changed, not to make them harder, not to make them more separating out on course. I think that could be part of it, but to make it so that every time someone is seen, photographed, or videoed going through an obstacle, it's enticing. Either because it looks epic, or because it looks cool, or because it looks impressive, or because it looks miserable. No more 10-meter monkey bars. That is, if you're going to have a monkey bar, make it long enough that it looks cool. There are people swinging for like
Throw some
20 seconds.
fire under their feet. Do something.
Yeah, do something. Put it over water.
So they fall in the fire when 80% of people can't make it.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, Savage Race does that
raise
with
the stakes.
Sawtooth. Looks cool.
Yeah, it does.
Have an angle in it. Don't have one bar up here. Make it M.
And Sawtooth, that's not a gimme. It's not like the hardest obstacle out there, but you can fail Sawtooth.
Yeah. Embrace the chain thing. that Trifecta uses and what Europe uses. Have big, heavy chains.
Yeah.
That's way cooler than picking up a Home Depot bucket and putting it on your shoulder.
On your shoulder.
Bring the bucket back if you want it, but make it front carry, or
Right. What's in
forget
that
that.
bucket? Right.
Do Atlas stone carry. Don't do a seated sled drag. Bring back move the sled for distance. Take all the things you already have, but make them so that every time a random person sees it, they go, "That's epic. That's sick, bro. We should go do that." That's what you want. Seeing a 20, like a 10 rung monkey bars doesn't get many people to say, "Bro, we should do that." Why?
Yeah.
Why should I do that? You want this to be marketed as the endurance sport for people who don't like running or aren't runners, because it's a great gateway drug into running, but it has to be looking so epic in all the other things that it's not a 10K run with 0.2 of obstacles. It's an obstacle race, and we've lost that. This is now not an obstacle race whenever it's viewed on TV. Even OCR Worlds, which had some pretty decent coverage here and there last year, had a lot of running. And they had some good obstacles, but they were missing some and they were spaced out. It didn't feel like something that was going to get someone off the couch unless they really wanted that thing. I think we need to go all in on optics of obstacles.
And just to add on to that, do you think making some stuff, even if it's a little bit gimmicky, like venue specific, you're like, oh, we're on the West Coast. So European or OCR European Championship this year, it's in Italy. And have you ever seen those obstacles where it's just like a bunch of strings that are just hanging and you have to get across it? It would almost be like electroshock therapy, like those thin strings. So
electric.
They're making those like pasta colored. And they have rigs that have pizza for grip, and so like they're leaning in on the venue specific. Yes, it's a little gimmicky, but that's kind of cool. I'd want to share a picture like that, and you could do that. We go to some really cool places in OCR, and if you make a little bit of a gimmicky thing that's unique, I think that'd be a way to go.
Yeah, I was even watching the steeple at Bowerman because I'm a track and field fan. You guys watch this or no?
I watched every single race.
You watched it?
Oh yeah.
No race this weekend. I was in it.
Oh, nice. That's right. So you got to dive in.
Oh,
no joke. But at the steeple, they had like their barriers have little O's on them, right?
Yep.
It's like but it's like it's something that is iconic.
You know, you're at Hayward Field.
Like, it reminds you you're at Hayward Field. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Back in the day, one of the Miami venues had like these drainage culverts and you had to run down them into the water and back up on a row. Like people went there because that looked crazy and unique. You had Tarzan swinging Killington under the bridge. Like it's not obstacle innovation, but it makes use of something that's there that was totally unique. Ape Hanger and Palmerton. I'm fairly convinced some people would go to Palmerton because of that video. Like I got to do a mountain race. It could be New Jersey. It could be Palmerton. Well, they have that sweet permanent obstacle there. Let's do that.
Double sandbag at Palmerton was kind of there.
Double sandbag. There's that OCR series over in Europe, and in one they kept jumping off docks. And swimming to the next docking. Like they went in and out of water several, but it was super unique. And people are like, if I'm going to do one, I want to go do that one because I've never done a course like that. Leaning into that, that social media. Let's put clips on that always look enticing.
Toughest Malmo that ends running up a ski jump.
Yes,
like a Red Bull 400 thing. It's like, but just think of this: how many things can we list off the top of our head right now? We could do dozens. We could do a whole show on like what makes a certain venue cool, and none of it gets implemented like that.
None of it costs money.
Does it cost money to have a bridge? Like, yeah,
like it's a little bit more time.
Well, what do we hear from Big Bear? Well, this was the exact same course as 2 years ago, and it was the flipped version course of 3 years ago.
Less time.
That was the takeaway of the course.
Shit was still hard though.
Very hard.
Yes, it was.
But what's its calling card?
The mountain. Just the mountain. We're kind of into the marketing talk now. That's something I had kind of written down as opposed to the actual product. And I guess it's hand in hand, right? Because we're talking about like get these awesome looking venues, Instagrammable, so they can go viral, even if it's just like a little part of the full race, right? Like something that is unique to the very specific venue where this race is taking place. So now we're kind of into that marketing conversation. And like the television part is also that. But is there anything specifically that we look at for marketing where they're kind of missing?
It's not necessarily marketing. It's more like the setup that you can market, because track and field, it's track and field. You've got two separate things going on at the same time. And a lot of these brands like Spartan and Deca, it's the same thing. Imagine like if you're able to cross promote those in a docu-series type thing like Drive to Survive, like we were talking about earlier. High Rocks have that, like showcase everything that's going on. Maybe we don't need a brand specific one. Maybe we need the Drive to Survive style show to be, let's show Savage one week and then Deca the next week, and then here's another Spartan brand showing the best obstacle race that they choose, the best venue, and then we're going to show High Rock, and then people get like a nice, they could pick and choose. And some people who are all in on High Rocks right now, all in on CrossFit, I'm sure they've heard of Spartan, but they probably haven't seen it for a while because it's not the NBC style, and the whole viewership thing has changed. You don't have a lot of network TV anymore and stuff. But I think that if you give like the whole spectrum of what's out there, because a lot of athletes want to try both of them, that might be an approach to go.
BK, thoughts on marketing?
I think the overall messaging has gotten redundant from Spartan, and almost it's like a faceless company. Like what experience are they selling right
We
now?
need more DeSena?
Not faceless, maybe aimless. Like what experience are they selling to people? Their marketing message, what is it right now?
Right now?
I don't. That's a hard one to answer.
Because I believe they could lean in on being the anti-running race. Like they're the opposite of a marathon. Like there are no pace groups. You're not confined to what your minute per mile is. It doesn't matter. Like if you can't run, can you hike? If you can't hike, can you swim? If you can't swim, can you swing? Can you carry? Can you crawl? You can do it with friends. We support each other. Like it's the opposite of being hung out to dry under a magnifying glass of what is your pace per mile. Like it's the running for non-runners, but it's also the ultimate all-around endurance competition. I don't see any of that messaging happening. It's hard to pin down what Spartan believes they are.
I guess I'm just not like locked in the way that I was when I was on the periphery. But another thing that would get athletes into this, like the idea of an endurance race for non-runners, but also selling that grit, right? That's something
Grit.
selling how hard this race is. It's the toughest athletes who do best, not the fastest athletes.
You
Because
can
that is something
have
that
a
will pull people
you can
in.
have a Hunter McIntyre beat an Olympic caliber runner in the same type of run with them. Just show off. There's no one mold that fits. Everyone knows it's like, oh, I'm not 6'8". I'm probably not gonna be a basketball player and stuff. It's like this could be the sport for anybody if you're tough enough or you have enough grit.
If you have enough grit, if you're tough enough, yeah. And to reach the athletes, building the sport side of thing, like the experience, I don't know if that's what they're selling necessarily. Because I said I'm not locked in. I don't think they're marketing to me that way. But that's what's selling to the masses. We've talked about this before. This is an experiential thing. Like it's it's unique. It's things you don't typically do. It's primal. But for an athlete who is like, I'm lost. I wish there was something here for me, but I know I'm tough. I don't have a lot of things, but I know I'm tough. That's who these athletes are in OCR who've been successful. Just tapping back into that.
Yeah. Yeah, it just feels like there's missed opportunities to say this is the answer to the softening of society. That's all everyone complains about. Like we're weak, we're soft. This is not what I grew up. Well, this is where it is. This is where you have to come out and just get dirty, get tired, grind it out, and it's going to be incredible along the way, and you're going to be different on the other side.
Do you think that framing it towards, for the most part, like if you look at participant levels, it's a lot of people in their mid to late 30s who are trying this. Like those are the deepest age groups. Do you think it's like, hey, life may have happened. You might have been career oriented, started a family, whatever. You want your second chance at athletics.
You're not
like
dead
lifting,
yet.
Not done yet, but for most people. But you could gear it towards that, where it's like, here's your second chance, and maybe you're not a great runner, maybe you're not the strongest person, but if you're tough, you're grit, you're athletic, you're willing to take some risks, you can go and have some fun also on these courses, travel to some really cool venues. That might be the approach that they need to take.
There's no one physical skill set limiter that you can't finish. You're not going to run into a snatch complex that's too heavy. You're not going to be able to run 5-minute mile pace, so you're out. Like the limiter will be your grit.
Yeah. Yeah, and getting that message across and finding the athletes who are that. who are that? And is that how big of a pool is that? I'm sure it seems like there would be a lot of people like that, right?
Yeah,
Who
and I'm
think
not
that at
even
least.
concerned about getting the top athletes in because they always fill it out.
Just
They'll be there.
like the depth,
The depth is
the
where that
number,
comes in from.
the
Yeah.
number of athletes is something,
It,
and that's something that we need, you know.
in terms of marketing, like a lot of these are at big ski resorts and stuff, and you have giant numbers of people who show up for, you know, a 1 to 2 month period during like the peak time of winter, specifically when kids are on vacation for the most part. If you are they promoting it then? Are they like, hey, come back in August when the mountain doesn't really have much going on? It's like halfway between seasons for skiing or snowboarding. Do you think they're promoting like, hey, come back, run a race at Big Bear, run a race at they don't have Breckenridge anymore?
That's
But
probably more the masses. They probably get on an email list, you know, like you sign in your
how
email.
many emails do you read?
Well, I mean, how else what are you going to do? Like put a
I
flyer
know.
up, staple it to the freaking telephone
Just
pole?
like in the lobby at like the lodge or whatever. Just have on repeat. Just have some like 1 minute video just on loop.
We talked about like the again for like the drive to survive type of thing, like athlete stories, right? If we want to market the sport, getting into that a little bit more and really making like creating stars.
Yeah.
Did they and that is something that I guess NBC shows kind of did,
They
right?
pushed big on that. They
Yeah.
identified whose episode it was going to be.
Everybody
Who's-
knew who Amelia was. Like
Yeah.
that's her. Everyone knew this was a Matt Novakovich versus Hunter race. Like they dialed in on these 2 to 3 people every single time.
They need to invest. I think investing in helping athletes understand how to create a following or engage a following because it's going to be less of here's your show that's on NBC, everybody watches NBC at this time, whatever. Like being more present across all of this channels and highlighting the athletes, not necessarily being like, here's a story about Ryan Atkins on Spartan Race's Instagram. It's like let's help Ryan Atkins become popular on social media.
Mhm.
And I think because that's really where there's going to be reach. That's how people are going to find other people, like the influencer marketing, taking influencer marketing into the company's hands and then distributing that knowledge to the athletes and actually helping them. I think would only increase. I mean, I think one of the best marketing engines that Hyrox has is Hunter McIntyre's Instagram,
Mhm.
right? So if there is a way that these companies or an association or an organization can help athletes expand their reach on social, on whatever channel it is, to me that seems like a way that gets people interested and to get athletes back and involved in the sport.
Who does a good job right now in OCR of like marketing themselves?
That's what I'm saying. Nobody has help.
I think Leon is the name that comes to mind for me,
Yeah.
where it's like
Leon
you can
and
see
Ida.
that like they're really good at it. And we're kind of looking at this from a US perspective realistically, but copy what they're doing. Like they're clearly getting noticed. You know, get deals with Garmin and some other prominent brand, Red Bull. Like do what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is something we talked about with Spartan a decade ago, that they don't need to waste their money on fitness models and
Influencer marketing. Yeah.
influencer marketing because
Dime a
they have the
dozen.
best in front of them. Like the people, one of the great things about OCR and hybrid racing is that the people who are the best at it look really impressive. Most of them are really fit, really muscular. A good chunk of them are attractive individuals. A large chunk of them are well spoken. Like you have your models, you have your people that you can use who also happen to be the people who are tuning in, or the people who are tuning in to see. They haven't ever leveraged it. They'd say like, well, we'll give you $500 a month for social media or whatever,
For your
but we're going
shitty
to pay
post that you
this
don't really know
person
how to do. Right.
$5,000 a month who can't even look competent running. Like, don't pay them. Pay the people who are in it. It's a self-sustaining cycle again here. This is the environment we need to keep people in: is show your impressive people doing impressive things.
Or just help them. Right.
Them filming the ground,
Yeah.
running up the mountain isn't doing it for your channel because they don't know what else to do.
That's what they're doing. Send somebody out there
Easy.
or have them all to one place where you have a content
Yeah.
creator, content filmer.
Yeah, you don't give yourself a root canal. You go see a dentist who's going to have a marketing professional help them out with. Don't expect the athletes to know what they're doing right away. And if that's not their line of work, they're athletes.
You
They're
have
athletes,
Island
and most of
Ninja.
them have jobs.
Island Ninja, good looking guy, jacked, athletic. They use him.
Personality. Yeah.
Go send him out with Ryan Atkins for a weekend. Have him record stuff there with him, watching Ryan bomb down a mountain past him, and then do his little selfie talk where he talks to the screen about it after you've just seen something impressive. Like, these things need to happen in conjunction with each other rather than butting heads with each other. Again, we're bogged down in details, but these are easy details. Ida and Leon have realized what sells. Barely clothed grip and obstacle demonstrations.
Yeah, impressive stuff.
Do it.
Yeah.
And the only time they show running is track intervals.
Which look
And they're
great.
not showing the whole interval. They're showing their kick home at the
The
finish.
the 200s at the end. Yeah.
That looks like well-coached social media. And you tune into that and you're excited to watch more of it. And you'll probably look for them on race day.
Yeah. Absolutely. So like, yeah, I think investment in the athletes is how they will reach other athletes, right? Because Spartan Race
Yeah.
putting it on their channel, like when a brand is making things, like it's not going to get like, it's not going to be viral.
No.
Like how an influencer or an individual's content is going to go. So I think that would be a route that like, I don't understand what the barrier is. I suppose it's investment in the athletes, but it could just be using whatever marketing they're using for influencer marketing right now, or their other social channels, and just redistributing it to help the athletes create that. But
The thing is, you already have all the athletes there at a big race. If they're gonna, compete in a series, pull them aside at 2:00, like cool down, take a shower, look good, whatever. You've got all your staff there. You've got all the athletes there who matter. They've already seen the course. They know where a good place to film something like that might go viral would be. I don't get why they don't just do this on race day when you've got everybody there who you'd need to make this succeed.
yeah, but the athletes would be like, "No, I'm not doing that shit."
Yeah, until the paychecks start coming in.
If they're
I mean,
gonna
if you
pay, they
think-
would. Yeah.
Yeah, they get paid.
You watch a race of any
If-
sort other than running, and prior they're going down through the staging area, and someone's going through talking, checking on athletes, moving to the next thing. During the race, sideline reports with someone who dropped out or who was injured that day but's there. The warm up conversation after. The superstars are always on camera. They show them walking from the team bus to the locker room, and what are they wearing this day? Like, is that valuable? It shouldn't be, but it is insanely valuable. And now it's to the point where like NBA and NFL players have sponsorship deals, and the leagues do, for what brands they're wearing walking from the bus to the locker room.
Right.
Like, they found a way to capitalize all of that. They'll make more on, let's say, Anthony Edwards' outfit in that 30-second walk to the locker room than they'll make on gate in some games, because they figured out that's where return on investment is for people. It's not going to be, did you drink Fit Aid because you came to a race with Fit Aid? It's, we just showed them warming up for like 15 straight minutes and everyone had Alpha Flies on. And now people watching bought like total 10 pairs of Alpha Flies like that day. Those are the kind of things that translate over. Buying a few cases of Fit Aid because you gave away 3,000 that day doesn't move the needle for companies.
Mhm.
But showing the best athletes using a brand, that translates. These are all things that you can sell. And as soon as you get sponsorship money coming in, now you can put on more events, not just because you got an extra 1,000 people through the gate.
I actually did pull up the CrossFit money, Jack. You mentioned the lowest paid is 2,500.
Okay.
for
But it's not
40.
it's not 25,000.
No, they're losing money
Yeah.
on that. The dude is
Yeah.
from freaking, I think he qualified out of the Asia region. Arthur
Yeah, it's like
he flew a long way.
Even if you live in or I guess Fort Worth, like if you live there, you're still not really taking home much.
Even I'm looking at 7th place, right? Chandler Smith last year, 35,000. That's like great, but it's not like a salary for.
He's got to pay
Yeah.
bring his coach there, his team to keep him feeling good.
But it's
Well,
more
you
what
get
McKay
from
was
it.
saying. Yes. It's what you get from it. It's the exposure. People see
Yes.
you, the brands that will build you up. And that's where I don't know how influential OCR has become or was in the past. And that is where helping the athletes become a little bit more influential will be a draw to get more people in it. And like we said for High Rocks, so like this, they're taking this opportunity. Like what this race can do outside of the race itself, like we're going to see, and it seems like it could be valuable, and everybody's trying their hardest to get into this race. But I don't know if OCR ever or what kind of effort they've put toward trying to see this through.
Yeah. You said, I'm not sure what's there. Let's just talk from the little experience we've had. So us, people we've coached or our friends, going all in on the Spartan Pro Team life, chasing national series best finishes and going to worlds. Like, what have they got out of it? I was terrible at social media. The very
Not
first
anymore,
time
though. You were. Now
You answer DMs
Great.
these days.
Is that true?
sometimes.
Well,
Don't
I
put-
thought,
don't put the-
I
don't
thought
put-
it came clean recently.
Don't
Yeah.
put that out there.
Oh,
So I'd make my first national series podium, get an NBC spot briefly. And within a month, I have a training clothes sponsor. I have a protein sponsor, and I had a partial deal with Reebok.
Nice.
Like I wasn't
Just from
making
one-
tens of thousands of dollars, but that first season of being on air, seeing my face on there, people started messaging, and I had nothing to bring to the table social media wise, nor was I one of the best, but nor was I even in conversation for the best person in my sport or even in my nation. That's, Brian Gowiski. He's a guy that at the time I coached, and he got a podium and missed another podium and then made, I think, a second podium in an NBC race. Not making much money, $500 I think he got for one of them and like $1,500 for another. We had to leave. He didn't even get his spot on NBC because he had to leave afterwards, and they said, we'll get you at the next race and we'll do your interview. They never did it. He never made the coverage.
damn.
And I think he
That
got
sucks.
$9,000 from A-Shock for a sponsorship that next season.
It's pretty good.
All right. So what would someone locally do? Like Brian goes to all the local Carolina races, and all the guys race against him, and they see I'm one notch behind him, and I see what he's been doing. He just signed a $9,000 A-Shock sponsorship plus like 3 cases of A-Shock a month, just kept showing up at his door.
It's
What
too
would I
much-
do to
too
try to
much
get
A-Shock.
that? Right.
Yeah.
They're going to go after what he's got because they see the route he got there and that he's getting something for it. And now he's starting to show up places. And the little that we've seen around, people got enough to make it worth their while.
Yeah.
And it was the allure of doing what all the best people were doing.
Yeah.
The ranks will fill themselves when something is available that's pretty hard to obtain. Yeah. I was just looking at, just to kind of pivot a little bit, or go back. I think training, like documenting training, that really goes a long way. I was just on the NBC pre-classic, just looking at some of the views. How many views do you think most of their races are getting?
On
for this?
YouTube?
Yeah.
The mile?
Most
or
of them.
any of them?
57,000.
Hunt it.
Kerr versus Ingebrigtsen,
Well,
184,000.
What was
I
the
went
oh, not Shakira. Let's do that. What was the steeple? Hey.
All right. Whoa, 800 women, 194. 10,000 more people watched the Keeley race versus Kerr and
people
Ingebrigtsen.
like Keeley.
I know that's surprising though.
That was a sick race too. That was a good card without even
Yeah, I think Mo.
a thing in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, how much was
100
the steeple?
100 meter, 186,000. I'm trying to scroll down to even find
was
the
Sha'Carri, too.
steeple. Yeah.
Dude, that Keely Hodgkinson race though. Damn.
Yeah. 111 for the
155.
for the men's 200. I'm trying to find this. I'm just reading
Not a
out some
ton of
other
star
ones.
power in there. I mean, Kenny Bednarek's awesome, but
Yeah. I mean,
He's not like him.
1969 earlier this year. 24,000 for the 10K. Oh, that's a shortened clip, not the full thing. I cannot find steeplechase. This is
well, there you go.
infuriating.
It's not
what
in
I
the
saw.
algo.
But
It's not in the algo.
bottom line, I went to Team Ingebrigtsen, their page, just training, 30 to 50-minute episode, just doing what they're doing in their camp. 150 to 200,000, like
That's
every
what I'm
single
saying.
time.
Like, go out, make this content for the athletes, give it to them.
Exactly.
For them to put it on their channels, not put it on their Spartan. Because if it's under Spartans, you're gonna be like, "Oh, cool, Spartan stuff again." But if it's
People-
under
Yeah.
their own personal YouTube or Instagram, it's going to do well.
More benefit. Yeah. And it won't get lost in the 25 other promotional posts that same week. Like it's on that person's page. But I think that every single person who wants or who's watching these training, they're probably going out 300 plus days a year training themselves. Like they're going to get more from that than the 4 or 5 races per year that they might compete in. I think that showing behind the scenes, seeing that these people are human, seeing that they struggle with that last rep, just like you do. I think that brings a little bit more to the table. I know that VJ wanted to do some training with the champions type of thing where he would go to Boulder or to visit some of the top athletes there, then go to Malibu,
Arvada.
train with Hunter for a day. What?
Arvada, why not?
Arvada, absolutely. It might have been the opening. But yeah, he wanted to do that just to show like what different athletes do. We don't have those Josh Kerr versus Ingebrigtsen where they're not training with each other. They hate each other. Like we have a lot of athletes who get along with each other and would love the exposure realistically. There aren't too many hated people in this sport who wouldn't be able to get along, and ask to do a training session together. I think that it would be an easy sell.
And I think we have the most palatable sports to show training for of anything because it's a combination of aspirational and relatable. We in OCR and hybrid have incredibly dynamic training. The type of things that people do in training actually is more entertaining to watch than a lot of the racing because people have to rip down hills. They have to run fast interval work, and then they have to crush machines and weights. And so it's all aspirational training where people look at that and be like, these people are monsters, but they're not so effortless and floaty down the track that you can't even relate to like a Kenyan marathoner.
Right.
And they're not so huge and jacked. You're like, well, it's like some Olympic cross or Olympic lifter or CrossFitter. Like I could never move that way. Like it's all impressive enough looking that people will watch it for eye candy and training inspiration, but it's all relatable enough that you're like, these are just like pretty sick athletes doing some awesome stuff. And I could train for that.
Yeah. I've watched a bunch of like downhill mountain bike training and stuff. I don't even have a bike. And just watching that type of stuff is actually really cool, I think. And you might even draw some people from other sports to just watch it
That's
because
the
they're
saddest thing. Jack's
That's
childhood.
sad.
I don't even have a bike, guys.
a
Jack,
borrowed
we're gonna
one.
get you a bike with Patreon money.
Please
let's
do.
that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to
I've been
watch these
talking about
videos
it a
anymore.
lot.
You can go out there into the wild and just
and do it himself.
ride that bike. Take the
Give me a
training wheels
sick
off.
Diamondback with some pegs on it.
Yeah.
We've got some good mountain biking trails around me though.
Get him a BMX.
BMX,
Get a trick bike.
Get
A
those
mongoose.
pegs. Yeah. Mongoose.
All right. Did we do it?
I think we solved it.
There's one more thing.
One more thing.
We have to pit international athletes and nations against each other.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We cannot be so separated. Like Spartan is just US and over there they do their own thing and we don't go to trifecta anymore. That's just like the year. Like, we need to have multiple storylines and multiple audiences coming together in as many races as possible. I don't think we should ever see a US National Series race without a foreigner in it. I don't think we should ever see a European race without an American in it. I think we need constant crossover, and it's not that much money to sponsor an athlete to go overseas for a race or 3 athletes or whatever it's going to be. In terms of driving the storyline, we need nation against nation. We need Swiss against Denmark. We need Denmark against Canada, Canada against United States. We need those stories in the sport. OCR was at its best when Albin and Appleton and Ida and Siri and all these people were representing the other nations, showing which country held its own in OCR.
I'm
Susanna.
For it.
Yeah.
Susanna, yes. Matt Murphy. I know I'm leaving a ton of people off, but we need nations represented. You need a flag next to the name. It can't be all one. That's not what we need. We need as many nations as possible.
You get it at OCR European Championship. Huge pride. Those team races, everyone's like, oh man, I'm on team whatever, whatever my country is. I know Rich, he's pissed he can't be Team America B team. They would have taken down the A team potentially.
Unreal.
But you would have liked that.
Not even gonna watch for that. I'm not even going.
Not even. You're going home early, right?
Definitely.
It's what makes High Rocks great. So many nations, equal footing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
OCR Worlds. How many people, just regular average racers in the age group division, they're wearing their, the Puerto Rico flag or whatever country they're from. Denmark, ton of pride. Like you
Yeah, they
see
rep hard.
jerseys everywhere. So that's a great point, Bracken.
Well, that's it because I have
Now
to
we
go.
did it.
Now we did that. USA versus everybody. Do the chance. That's how I'm going to be rolling into Germany later today. I'm not going to say anything in German because I don't know how. And I'm just going to roll up to them and say English stuff.
Have you been talking with Pelayo trying to learn a little Spanish so you can communicate with Alphonse?
No, I wish.
Or should he learn English so he can communicate with you? Right?
Yeah, that's a better chance of it.
Yeah.
I saw Pelayo rocking those rebellions with you.
Oh, yeah. We were matching out there. I told him about those. I was like, dude, these are going to be perfect for your stride.
All right.
Grip, unreal. Unreal.
Rich,
grip.
I know it's more than a week away. What are you wearing?
For my shoes?
Shoes, outfit, or I guess they kind of give
They'll probably
you.
give us something,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'll still rock my 10,000 interval short because I got the pockets where I can stick my gloves in.
Yeah.
Very important. Very important. Rebellion Pros. Wave Rebellion
right.
Pro 2s. Without a doubt.
Yep.
I have 2 pairs now. They're so good.
Yeah, same.
I'm not convinced this will ever be bottled like this ever again.
Just because that bottom, like who puts that bottom on a road shoe?
I don't get it.
No. And like they're probably going to stop making the Rebellion Pro at some point. I don't think it's doing very well.
Not in America.
You think it's doing okay?
Mizuno has
South
an
America
entire
loves
market.
Mizuno. Yeah. Yeah. But this shoe, again, I guess that does look a little bit because they usually have the tech that you can visually see. And there's a whole
Mhm.
group of people that like that. And this shoe's a little wacky
They just
looking.
put out their, is it Sonic or something? It's their super trainer.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah.
I have to
So
grab
my
one of
hope is they're
those.
not going anywhere. This Rebellion line is like their endorphin. It's here to stay.
You kind of have to have something, right?
Yeah. But bottom line, you're not trying anything new for race day. That's what I was getting at.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Okay. Just
We're
make sure.
locked
Because
in.
I think Kent tested some new ones for Anaheim. Like, I hope he goes with something that he's worn before. Don't mess with world champs with the new pair of
He's not
shoes.
going to wear the waffle flat.
Yeah.
Hence
Hoka.
in a
Bracken
tough
get over his
spot because he
shoulder.
doesn't like super shoes.
He likes to, he's old school, man. He likes to feel fast. He puts the shoe on like it's a spike and it's like, yeah, I'm ready to go. It's like, dude, just put on this big cushy one. You'll just be fast. You don't need to feel fast.
He just needs the Takumi to get some grip.
I wore them this morning. They're the best. Took them to the track though. Did nothing else in them. Did some wall balls. They can they can hybrid. Other than
Oh, they can hybrid. I've
Other
been
than
ripping
push,
the
though.
VJ Lightspeed recently.
oh yeah,
I got a review coming for those, but I'm just gonna say it's the best shoe they've ever made, and it's not even close.
Wow.
I mean, how like where's the how high
It's
is
a
that?
comparison of nothing.
Yeah,
They've never made a shoe before.
have they ever made a road shoe?
They made
Yeah.
OCR cleats. This is still a trail shoe.
Oh, it is a trail shoe.
Yeah.
Oh,
Extremes
nice.
are really good going downhill.
They've made great OCR cleats.
Yeah.
They have never made a shoe. This
I
is
mean,
a shoe.
they came out with a super foam, right? Is that what this is? Is it PIBA or is it EVA? Critical EVA.
No, it's a TPU EVA mix. They
Okay.
basically got within like 4% of return with like 60% less compression and breakdown.
Really? The TPU is
Yeah.
a little bit more durable.
Yeah. And I think they found a sweet spot. I feel the shoe when I use it on trails. But
Is
I'm
the
not
upper
having
better?
the creasing and compression.
The upper is
Still give you
updated.
blisters on those toes.
Yeah, like it's essentially this shoe made by VJ, the
Mm.
Pulsar.
Mm.
The upper's not as dialed, but it's to the point where if I travel for a trail race, I'm bringing the Pulsar and I'm bringing that shoe. Those are my 2 trail racing shoes, and I wouldn't even look elsewhere. There's not anything else I would want. It's that good.
When you travel to Spartan
Michigan.
Whitewater Trail,
Oh yeah.
Ugh.
are you gonna do that?
I can't. Braden's got a double race day,
What day is that one?
June 20th or 21st.
Yeah.
Oof, it's
Same as
warm.
Fort Carson. What a shame. Yeah.
Great trail, though.
Cannibalized.
Great trail.
Probably bugs out there.
Yeah.
Well, good luck,
Richie-
Rich Ryan.
Yeah. What
Thank
were
you.
you connecting through? Frankfurt?
I'm flying directly to Frankfurt. We're staying in Germany for 7 days,
Okay.
and then to Nice Wednesday, and then
You're
we'll
gonna need
hang
to
out
like pay
there.
rent at that airport with how much you've been there this year.
That front, I know exactly where I'm going to go when I get out of there.
Yep.
Got that cafe we've been to.
Eat that bread. Yeah.
Get some bread. Then, well, I should have time on Tuesday, right? Like this right now,
Yeah.
it is 8 o'clock there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Let's do that. Does that work?
I'm
If you need
fine.
it, yeah.
Start at
If
6.
not, we'll replace you.
Yeah, that's fine. And we'll count your draft
Good
totals,
luck.
right?
Alphonse.
Yeah.
He'll
see?
crush. He'll draft perfectly. He'll know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next week we'll come through with a draft for High Rocks. Is this the Super Bowl for us, or is it still
Pretty high up there.
like what was the year? Was it 2021 where we did our best episode ever, the greatest content that we ever made?
The live feed, 4 a.m. Colderosa. Yeah. Athlinks watch along.
4 hours. Well, that was up there. We were
That was
excited
Super
about
Bowl
that
one. That was the first of its kind.
But this might be the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Very
It's
exciting.
going to be good.
Very exciting.
Awesome.
All right, squad. Thanks for joining today. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon.